Hey guys, my name is Marcus Anderson. I am a second year communication student at Simon Fraser University, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Twitter and its connection to Howard Rheingold's digital literacy of critical consumption, or what he also calls crap detection. So first and foremost, Twitter is an online news and social networking service that allows users from all around the world to connect with one another and keep up on the latest news and entertainment. Now let's take a quick look at Twitter and setting up an account. So if we go to Twitter's About page, it gives us a glimpse into what it's all about and just kind of what we can do with it. From there, it's really straightforward to sign up, and all we really need to do is throw in our name, email, phone number, all that kind of stuff, and create a password, and it's all good to go. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to log into an account that I've already created. Just created this one, and as we can see on the right here, we've got some news agencies popping up as some recommended accounts for me to follow. So obviously this is an information-based medium. The problem with that, of course, is that we can run into a lot of incorrect information. So this is what brings us to Rheingold's critical consumption literacy. Now, according to Rheingold, critical consumption is the literacy of trying to figure out what and who is trustworthy and what and who is not trustworthy online. An important reminder from Rheingold is that we shouldn't refuse to believe at all, but that we should refuse to start out believing. So Rheingold offers some fundamentals for critical consumption by asking us to ask ourselves the following. 1. Who is the author? 2. What do other people say about the author? 3. Who are the people who give opinions about the author? And 4. Who are the author's sources? Now, in his 2012 publication called NetSmart, Rheingold touches on how this can be a challenge given that we now live in a world where citizen journalism has grown to become extremely common. He cites the example of the 747 landing on the Hudson River in 2009 in New York, where the first photos were actually taken from a smartphone and posted on Twitter. So obviously, this poses a challenge for verifying brand new information, but Rheingold still gives us some tips for assessing information. And although it isn't always a perfect indicator of truth, he mentions that authority is still useful as one clue to a person's credibility. So Twitter actually provides us with a pretty useful tool to determine who is and who isn't a person of authority or credibility on Twitter by placing a blue check mark next to their name, just to say that they're a verified source or a verified account, at least. But Rheingold also touches on a journalistic practice known as triangulating. This involves checking 3 different credible sources. So once you've established 3 different points of credibility, you can feel fairly certain that you have an accurate report. And according to Rheingold, we must remember that credentials and highly regarded brands reduce the burden of investigating the credibility of information online, but they do not remove it. So with that in mind, I'd like to show a couple of real-life examples from Twitter of how seemingly credible figures can be the sources of inaccurate information. As a big hockey fan myself, I get a lot of my sports news from Twitter, where there are a variety of trusted sources who are known for breaking trades, free agent signings, and any other news within the league. So on March 27, 2013, just a few days before the NHL's trade deadline that season, former NHL player and TSN analyst Aaron Ward actually broke a trade saying that Jarome Iginla, who was the longtime captain of the Calgary Flames, had been traded to the Boston Bruins and that details would soon follow. And then fellow TSN reporter Darren Dreger then backed this up, citing that the details of the trade likely wouldn't be released until the following day. But just a little bit later that same night, it was reported that Ward had jumped the gun, and Iginla had in fact actually been dealt to the Pittsburgh Penguins instead. And then this was then confirmed by both the Calgary Flames and the Pittsburgh Penguins on Twitter, and Ward's initial report was confirmed as false. A few months later, Ward was at least able to poke some fun at himself with this when Jarome Iginla did actually sign with the Boston Bruins, and he tweeted out, like I said, Jarome Iginla to the Boston Bruins. So although it isn't common for these trusted reporters to report inaccurate information, Twitter has become a hotbed of sorts for fake news of all kinds, including in the sports world. So there are lots of faked and hacked accounts that are rampant now, and these can oftentimes be overlooked by users who don't do their due diligence in fact-checking before retweeting or spreading the news even further. And in 2013, the Associated Press had their account hacked, and a tweet was sent out stating that there had been 2 explosions in the White House and that President Obama was injured. So this came just a week after the Boston bombing, so obviously tensions were high and it was something that was believable. And then again, a few years later in 2016, both Sony Music and Bob Dylan's Twitter accounts were hacked, with tweets being sent out about the death of Britney Spears. Obviously, neither of these cases were true, but they caused panic among thousands of people. So what we're looking at right now is a website called BotCheck, and as is mentioned in the name, it checks for Twitter bots or accounts which are operated on an automated basis. It does, however, only really seek out bots which are found to be spreading political propaganda, but that's where most of our concern with bots comes from anyway, so that's okay. Just to give you a quick tour of the website, what it shows down here is in the last 24 hours the top hashtags that have been retrieved from bot accounts. So we see a lot of Make America Great Again, Trump, stuff like that. We look at the top tweeted at, again, lots of Donald Trump, and then it's a pretty dramatic fall off from there. Lots of Trump basically peppered in everywhere here. So let's just go back up here and I'll show you how it works. So what we can do is we can look at someone who we know is not going to be a bot, just so I can show you what that looks like. We know that Donald Trump's Twitter account isn't actually a bot, as much as it may seem so at times. So we'll type in @real Donald Trump and see what we get for a result. So there we go, propaganda bot-like patterns not found. So basically just telling us that that account is not a bot. We can either disagree with that or we can dismiss it. So what I'm just going to do is dismiss it because I know that's obviously not true. So what I've done is I've looked at these hashtags and I'm going to go hashtag KAG on Twitter just to find someone that actually was a bot, just so I can show you the difference there. So this person, I've got a plugin actually attached to my Chrome browser. So I've got it directly linked to my Twitter account, so I'm just going to bot check them right now from my Twitter account. And we have a result, propaganda bot-like patterns found. So again, all we can really do with that is disagree or dismiss, but we might be able to report them or something like that. At least we know that we're probably dealing with a bot in this case. So in conclusion, Twitter is an information-based medium which rewards speed more than anything else. A recent study from MIT found that tweets containing falsehoods reach 1,500 people on Twitter 6 times faster than truthful tweets, and it seems as though humans are primarily responsible for spreading inaccurate information as opposed to bots, as false news stories are 70% more likely to be retweeted than true stories are. For this reason, multiple scholars argue that there is a need for digital literacy instruction, but there's no question that the platform of Twitter itself allows users to further develop their critical consumption skills, and with some tips from Rheingold and more complete fact-checking, they can do just that.